Hello and good evening, everybody. This is your girl, your diva in knowledge, Lady Mocha, representing Mocha's Cafe de Paris, where I'm always serving you wisdom, knowledge, and spiritual awareness. Thank you for tuning in. I thought it was very imperative that I shared this particular content because I'm noticing all of the discord that is going along that is occurring among a lot of us as black men and black women in this world, in the YouTube sector, on so many different levels, whether it's through the internet or your personal life, your social life. I just noticed that there's so much conflict and chaos amongst black people within the black community. And I realized that a lot of the reason we have so much conflict and chaos amongst us is because none of us really understand and realize how precious and delicate life is. I find it very ironic that if we knew we only had a short time here, how different our outlook on life would be if the doctor were to tell you you only have a month to live. Everything that you took for granted, people that you took for granted, opportunities that you took for granted, you would understand the significance of how valuable it is. But what has happened is people have forgotten the value and significance of life, and people are taking their time and utilizing it for all of the wrong things, for all of the wrong reasons, and they're not really utilizing the time that they have here on earth for the right things. And there's so many people that have left here. And I'm sure if they still had a little bit of time, they would have done things totally different. They would have apologized to people they never apologized to. Um, they would have possibly forgiven those who they never forgave. Um, they would have tried to change things had they known that their time was limited. And I realized that a lot of us, we really don't value time and we take it for granted. And what really opened my eyes to this today was I had received a message from my mother. She sent me this video that had a very powerful message in it. And as I will proceed to read this message that was sent to my inbox, it will totally make sense to you. You will connect the dots as to what motivated me to do this particular content. The name of this message is The Suitcase, and it goes as follows. A man died. When he realized it, he saw God coming closer with a suitcase in his hand. God said to the man, "All right, son, it's time to go." Surprised, the man responded, "Now? So soon? I had a lot of plans." God said, "I'm sorry, but it's time to go." Gentleman man responds, "What do you have in that suitcase?" he asked. God answered, "Your belongings." "My belongings? Do you mean my things, my clothes, my money?" God answered, "Those things were not yours. They belonged to the earth." "Is it my memories?" the man asked. God answered, "Those never belonged to you. They belonged to time." "Is it my talents?" God answered, "Those were never yours. They belonged to the circumstances." Is it my friends and family? God answered, I'm sorry. They were never yours. They belong to the past. Is it my wife and son? God answered, they were never yours. They belong to your heart. Is it my body? God answered, that was never yours. It belonged to the dust. Is it my soul? God answered, no, that is mine. Full of fear, the man took the suitcase from God and opened it just to find out the suitcase was empty. With the tear coming down his cheek, the man said, I never had anything. God answered, that is correct. Every moment you lived were only for yours. You never lived for somebody who was not related to you in any way. Basically, the moral of the story is life is just a moment. On that note, I thought it was very imperative that I did this particular content because a lot of us have ownership confused. We think that we own everything that is in our possession. We think we own these jobs with our titles. We think we own these cars with our names on the title or our names on the payments. We think we own money because we're the ones that are working for it. We're the ones that are spending it. We think that we own people, whether if those people are our relatives, our children. We think we own so much of everything that belongs here. And what we're not understanding is everything that is in your physical realm, everything that is tangible, everything that you can touch, smell, taste, and hear, none of this belongs to any of us. Not me, not you. Nothing here belongs to us. Because if you really want to technically get spiritual about it, we all have an expiration date because there's a time for everything. There's a time to live, there's a time to die. So, with that being said, if it was really, really yours, all of these earthly possessions that we worship so dearly, all of these titles that we treasure, the titles being a CEO, an executive director, a business owner. And this is not to say that you should not be proud of your achievements and you should not be proud of your accomplishments. But just keep in mind that when the day comes that we all have to face judgment day and meet our maker, realize that none of the stuff that you have in your possession, you cannot take any of it with you. Your cars, your money, everything that you own, you're not going to be able to take it with you. Someone else is going to be driving your cars. Someone else is going to be living in your house. Someone else is going to take the place of your position on your job. Whether you're a CEO, an executive director, executive administrator, whatever your title is, the day that your Heavenly Father decides that He's ready to make a place for you in His kingdom, if you've earned your way there, first of all, somebody's going to take your place. Somebody's going to enjoy all of what you have worked for. And this why I find it very, very imperative that none of you, whether you're a man or a woman, do not get attached to the things of this world. Because everything that is on this earth is designed to only last temporarily. Care what cars you get, eventually It's going to depreciate in its value. Doesn't matter what type of house you get. It doesn't matter how many people support you, how many fans you got, how many subscribers you got. When it's all said and done and your time comes, you're just going to become another memory. And that is why it is very imperative that you are humble in all of your blessings, that you are humble in your accomplishments, in your achievements. Because when it's all said and done, no one's not going to remember all of what you have accomplished. And people may talk about it for a little while, but like anything else, people sooner or later forget all about you. So that's why it is very important that you be humble with your blessings. You don't look down on people. You don't pick on folks. You don't talk about folks who are struggling and people who don't have what you have, people who haven't accomplished what you have accomplished, because we all are struggling on different levels. All of us are not going to be on the same level at one time. For everybody who has come in first place, someone has had to come in last, and vice versa. So everybody gets their time to shine. And just because you're shining right now, you have all the recognition, you have all the popularity, um, you're getting all of the praises. Just understand that at some point in life, as life goes on, you're not going to be remembered for all of the praises and the glory and accomplishments that you get. The day that God has already assigned for you not to be here, on your obituary, it's not going to say how many subscribers you had when you had your YouTube channel. It's not going to say what kind of brand name shoes you used to wear. People are not going to be bragging about the designer labels you wore at your funeral. People are not going to talk about the big old home you lived in, how much money you made. You know what's going to count the most when that time comes? I'm going to tell you what's going to count. Your character is what's going to count. When people are gathering around at your funeral, nobody's not going to talk about your Prada bags, your red bottom shoes, your Gucci, your Dolce Gabbana, whatever it is you wear. People are going to talk about your character. People are going to say, oh, she was a really good man. He was a really good man. He had a good heart. Or she was a really good woman. She had a good heart. People forget what you do. In the words of Maya Angelou, people will forget what you have done, but people will not forget the way you made them feel. And you have to be very careful with how you treat people in this time we live in called life. You have to be very careful. Those you mistreat, those that you speak down on, those that you have ridiculed and criticized, and you didn't criticize them out of love, but out of hate and out of jealousy and out of egos. Because the same way you're judging everyone else, that's the same way you're going to be judged. And even the Bible tells you a good reputation is more valuable than rubies and gold. And it is. Because that's what people are going to remember about you. People are going to remember how you made them feel, the um the love that you left behind, the impression that you left on them before you left here. That's what people are going to remember the most. They're going to remember the character that you left here. And it's just so surprising to me that so many of us as grown men and grown women, we take life for granted. We think we're going to be here forever. So with this attitude, we think it's okay to be mean. We think it's okay to be nasty. We think it's okay to be egotistical. We think it's okay to um, slander. other people's names and slander other people's accomplishments, because in our minds we feel like we're going to always be on top. Or in many cases, there's a lot of grown men and grown women who feel invincible because they have gotten away with being disrespectful for so long, and because they have gotten away with doing all kind of shady and underhanded stuff. Some things they have done shady undercoverly, and some things they have done shady openly. And what a lot of us are not realizing is that everything that we do on this earth, it doesn't matter if people hold you accountable for it. But one thing about it is God is going to hold you accountable for how you treat people here. So even though right now you don't feel you have to answer to anything you have done, you don't feel like you have to apologize because you got out of pocket, you don't feel like you were wrong for the way you disrespected somebody, the way you embarrassed someone, humiliated someone. You didn't see nothing wrong with how you talked down to that person. You see nothing wrong with it. But keep in mind that just because you won't hold yourself accountable, it does not mean God is not going to hold us accountable for what you do. And the reason why a lot of us cannot get ahead because we have we have done a lot of dirty deeds that we have not truly repented for. And repentance not only comes with asking God for forgiveness, but changing your ways and trying to become a better man or a better woman, not resorting back to that old demonic character that was lustful, hateful, revengeful. That means dying in a sense, meaning getting rid of all of those sinful ways and not reverting back to that lifestyle, meaning you have totally have spiritually cleansed yourself from all of those worldly habits that have cost you to lose so much. Because what we're not realizing is time, we don't have much of it left. Each and every one of us are aging. If you could take a moment and reflect back on your life and realize how fast time has went. Remember when you were in your 20s and now you're in your 30s. Now, or when you were in your 30s and now you're in your 40s, or when you was in your 40s, now you're in your 50s. You're not that tight body, six pack, 18, 19-year-old hormonal young man you used to be. Now, when you look in the reflection of the mirror, you see a grown man with gray hairs on his face, gray hairs in his beard, gray hairs in his scalp, um, extra body weight, body gain. Um, you see the age, how life has just changed so drastically because physically you're not the same man you used to be, and mentally you're not the same man you used to be. Life has changed. You have gone through so much from your boyhood to your manhood. You've experienced things from in your adulthood that you never even prepared yourself for in your youth. And the same thing with becoming an older woman. You didn't have that same, you don't have that same body when you look in the mirror now that you had when you was 18, 19, 20. Um, Health problems you got now, you didn't have back then. You may be dealing with high cholesterol, high blood pressure. Um, Back then when you were young, you didn't care what you ate anything, drank anything, smoked weed, got drunk, slept with all kind of men, been promiscuous during your youth. And now that you are a full grown woman, you've seen, witnessed how mistakes during your childhood has affected your womanhood. You've had more children than what you could afford to take care of. You've been through numerous relationships and are not with not near guy that you have had a sexual encounter with. These are just a few examples. I know the situations like this don't apply to every woman, But this is just a few analogies that I'm just using. What I'm basically stating is we all are aging. And each day as you live is a day that you're becoming closer to dying. And one of these days, your vision is not going to be the same. Your strength is not going to be the same. It's going to be things going on with your body that you never prepared for. Your knees are going to hurt some days. Your back is going to hurt some days. You're going to find yourself many days getting stressed and overwhelmed to where you may get migraines. And in some cases, some of us have even experienced mild strokes, and not even in our 50s, and already mild heart attacks, cardiac arrest, things that took years for people to have to experience back then. Our grandparents and great grandparents didn't experience these type of issues till they got in their 50s and 60s. But now it's a lot of men and women that are experiencing all of these issues in their 30s and 40s. So you can't say anymore that I'm too young, that'll never happen to me, because that's not true anymore. You cannot go by age as far as numbers. You can't think because you're 20 you can't have a stroke. Because you're 30, you can't have a heart attack. You can't look at your age anymore, because none of us, I don't care how smart we are, how many degrees we got, how much knowledge we claim we have, how much intellectual books that we read, none of us can predict our future. You have no idea what's down the road. And that's why it is very imperative that we be careful with how we treat people, because life is just a breath away. And that's why I I get upset from time to time when I hear men or women bragging about all of the things that they have. They bragging about what kind of house they live in. They bragging about what kind of car they live in. They bragging about how many degrees they got. They bragging about how big their channel is. They're bragging about how much money they make on their jobs, and not even understanding that all the things that you're bragging about, if you were really looking at this from a spiritual perspective, none of that stuff holds no value. You know what these things, these earthly things are? These are just things for us to enjoy while we are here. This is nothing to make a big deal out of. This is nothing to make so huge to the point that we lose ourselves in these materialistic things. Because the truth of the matter is, it doesn't matter how big your house is, how big your cars is, our graves are all going to be the same size. And you can't take none of this stuff here with you. You can't. If you pass today or tomorrow, everything you have, somebody else is going to enjoy it. So there's no need dragging and degrading other people who are not on your level, because you had to struggle to get to where you are. You didn't always have it like you had it. And the thing you're not realizing is you can be on top today and you can hit rock bottom tomorrow. Anything can happen. You can lose a loved one. You can lose your job. You can, God forbid, get in a car accident, end up paraplegic where you can't work anymore. You just have no idea. It's how many of us have ever experienced a never thought it would happen to me moment. I know I have. There's not one person who has not experienced a never would happen to me moment. Never thought they would have a child in prison, but they got one in prison. Never thought that their husband or wife will walk out and leave them for no reason, but it has happened. Never thought that they would end up with cancer, but got cancer. Never thought that their son or daughter would murder somebody and end up doing life in prison, and they're doing it. Never thought as much money as you had that one day you would be broke and lose everything. All of us have experienced some never thoughts. So with that being said, don't ever think that your current situation can't change. It doesn't matter how good you're sitting. It doesn't matter how good you're eating. In just a blink of an eye, all it takes is just one abrupt change in your life could change your whole dynamics. Things that you never saw coming. It can happen. Never think you're so invincible and you're so special that you are exempt from having to go through, because none of us are exempt. Life is not prejudice. We all are going to be dealt some. Good times, bad times. We're going to experience some accomplishments, and we're also going to experience some failures. So don't ever think because you're sitting great right now that you're always going to be sitting great. You don't know what can happen. Somebody could murder your child. You know how many people out there never thought they would lose a child through death and have experienced losing a child through violence? So you never can get too big for yourself, because life will throw you curveballs that you've never expected and never thought you would have to experience. So I really wish that more men and women would learn how to treat other people with kindness, because you don't want your last impression to be with somebody that, oh, he was a nasty dude, he was a hateful dude, he had a bad attitude, or she had a nasty personality, she was arrogant, you couldn't even, she wasn't approachable. Is that the impression you want to leave on people? And who's to say you're going to have time to get it right when you get over there, when it's time for you to cross that side? Who's to say you're going to be able to explain yourself? Because we don't know what to expect until we get there. So how you figure you got time here on earth to be a bully, to be mean, to be nasty, and you think when it's time to meet your maker, you could explain yourself? Well, God, I just had to put this Negro in check because he was disrespecting me, or I had to cuss this broad out because she was messing with my man. What makes you think you that privileged that you're going to have that kind of time to explain all of your evil deeds that you're doing here on earth? All of us are covered in a uniform, which is the body. Once the spirit departs from the body no longer has any life. And right now, while your body and your spirit is still in connection with one another, this is the time that you need to be doing all you can to make peace with other people. Instead of making strife, instead of making chaos, you need to be making it your business to get right with all the folks that you have ever mistreated and you have ever done wrong. And I find it very ironic that we have a lot of non-believers, and I'm not telling anybody to serve God, whatever your preference is, but I've seen so many people, even those who've never acknowledged them, end up on a deathbed, and the main words they want to say is, oh my God, or when it's they encounter a situation where they know their life is going to be taken from them and there's nothing they could do, that is the first word they say, oh my God. Oh Lord, help me, Lord. So instead of waiting for you to have a close encounter with death, for you to realize how valuable life is, for you to realize to not mistreat people, to not degrade people, because you may not have time to try to get it right. God may have mercy on you, may give you a deathbed where you can have time to apologize and make amends, but you can't bank on that. You may be in a situation where you instantly may go right then and there and not have time to correct any of your wrongs while you were here. So I thought it was very imperative that people really understood that life is not a game, is not something you take for granted. Life is precious. Time is valuable. Every second counts. You can't even make plans anymore because life is so fragile. What you have in mind, you may not even get a chance to bring it into fruition. So just be very careful with how you treat people and be humble with where you are. You don't want to leave here with your business undone. I don't care how smart you are, how intelligent you are, how many books you read, how many knowledge you claim you got. None of us are smart enough to outthink God. None of us got the power to tell God what we want to do and how we want to do it. At the end of the day, He is the one that has the final say so as to where we will end up. So, on that note, everybody, just take heed to this message and just really understand how valuable life is. Once you understand how valuable how life is and how short and how we're not promised to tomorrow. I can't even say we're not promised to tomorrow. You're not even promised to tonight. You're not even promised to the next hour. Anything can happen at any given moment. On that note, y'all, I thank y'all for viewing and listening to this content. I pray that somebody gets a change of heart, that somebody receives this message. You never know. If you're listening to this message tonight, maybe this is God's way of trying to reach you and speak to you and through you. So this was not an accident. This was not a coincidence that you heard this content. Get it right while you got time. On that note, y'all, it is your girl, Lady Mocha. Remember, I'm going to always pour you a cup of truth, and I will always break you off with a slice of knowledge. Y'all be blessed. Talk to you soon. Have a good one. Bye.